You're welcome back to the show. It's still Good Morning Anambra, and it's a TGIF edition of the show today because it's Friday. All right, we have with us in the studio this morning some guests that will be helping us talk on the topic 2023 elections, campaigning and contesting while in service, how legal. We have Obi Meze. Obi Meze is a public affairs analyst. You're welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We also have Barrister Joseph Anyante. Barrister is a public affairs analyst and also a legal practitioner. Good morning, Barrister.
Thank you. Good morning, Anambra.
All right. You both are welcome to the show this morning. 2023 elections, campaigning and contesting while in service, how legal? That's what we'll be exploring today. Now it's even all the papers that we reviewed this morning that some people have resigned, some of the political appointees, some ministers have resigned, and then some people are still consulting and they are still weighing their options, so to say, to see if it's better for them to stay where they are or to resign. They don't want to risk it all. So how do you even see that move from the federal government to be?
I would have rather that he looks at it from the...
No, we still get to that. I want to get your own opinion. Then we'll come to that legal aspect.
I would rather take a lighter, if you like, mischievous note of what is going on.
So do you want to have fun like a Mefele? Because he said he's having fun.
Well, okay, but not the kind of... I love to have the kind of a Mefele fun when you are surrounded by trillions of naira. Man, you have fun. Now, the point I'm trying to make is some people say they have to consult before they know whether they will resign. I want to ask, how many people did they consult before they took the appointments as ministers or what have you? Okay, so I find it funny. Like I said, it would have been better if he gave us a legal basis, because that's part of the problem we have with Nigeria, with the polity. There is the truth, there is what we know, there is what it should be, there is the ground norm, if you like. But because some of us tend to play to the gallery, we confuse the public, we confuse the voting public, we confuse everybody. So the issue is lost. Okay? So if we know what the position is, we should try and follow it. So it's very, very important that we know what the law says, what the Constitution says, what the Electoral Act 2022 says, okay, with particular reference to this, so that when we're discussing it, the viewers and listeners will understand that these are what the issues are. It's not about whether Emefiele is having fun or whether Ngige is going to consult his constituents, whom they never consulted in the first place. Okay? So what are the issues?
Okay, over to you now. I didn't ask the question. Obi actually asked you that question. So over to you now, Barrister. Even though in front of the Punch newspaper this morning, Ozokem said that CBN governor is entitled to stay in office for 30 days to the general election. So let's hear your thoughts on that.
Yes, you see, we really have a very serious constitutional crisis. Because when you look at section 66, sub F, it talks about a civil servant as a public officer resigning 30 days before the election. And when you look at section 318, we went ahead to mention some of these public officers, to include ministers and so many other category of persons. But in the case of INEC against TAOG, Court of Appeal said that a commissioner is not a public officer. In the case of Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, the Court of Appeal also said that the commissioner is not a public officer. And I think it is because of that, so that is entitled to do what? Contest while in office. And I think that is the correction the Electoral Act is coming up with now. Section 84 sub 12 now talks specifically about the political appointees. So that if you are not a civil servant, you are a political appointee, then this section 84:12 will now cover that lacuna. And that section 84 sub 12 said that if you are a political appointee, you have to resign. Then, but if you refuse to resign, you cannot participate in any delegate election, Congress. That is to say, if you are contesting, you will not partake. If you are not contesting, but you are a political appointee, you will not participate. That's why I say we are gradually having constitutional crisis. Then let's look at it this way. If you are a political appointee, but a statutory delegate, which the National Assembly also amended some days ago to include statutory delegates. And statutory delegates may be former chairman of a political party in the local government. Take for instance PDP. So if you have been a former chairman of maybe Anambra local government of PDP, and after that, then governor now appoints you as special advisor on political matters. This new provision now is saying that you cannot participate in delegate or Congress election. Then the contradiction there is that you are already a statutory delegate, but holding appointment. And section 8(4) sub 12 says you cannot even vote as a delegate. So it's a serious contradiction. I don't know if the National Assembly is not seeing all these things. The time will come when lawyers will now go to court to test the legality of all this. Because if you say a political appointee should resign, it is moral, it is okay. But they are at the same time saying that section 66 sub F have given a time frame. He said 30 days to the election. Then section 84 sub 12 is saying you should resign, not giving any time frame for you to partake in the Congress. So we are really having problem here. We are really having problem because if all these things are not taken care of by either the Constitution or the Electoral Act, then people will go to court to challenge some of it. Because there's no way you tell me because I am a political appointee, if I am a statutory delegate, you will now say I will not participate. Even if I'm not contesting, if I'm contesting, it's okay that you do what? You relinquish the power. Because if I appoint you to be carrying my bag and you want to go and contest, it is moral and it is in order that you resign from that carrying my bag so that you now have time to do all you need to do as far as that your election is concerned. So it is good that political appointees resign before they now...
So what you're saying right now is that it is legal for them to contest while they are in office, but it's morally right for them to resign.
Yes. Why it is legal for them to stay in office and contest is that we have a case study.
Okay.
Court of Appeal have taken that decision in INEC against T.A. Ochi. they said that chief of staff is not a public officer. He's just appointed for a period of time. So he's not a civil servant, if I may put it that way. So he can stay in office and contest. And that is why the Electoral Act now went ahead to say, no, you are an appointee, you need to resign. So that lacuna will be corrected.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I follow the point that he has made, and which was why I insisted. There are several sections of the Constitution that he has pointed out. I think particularly section 66,
Yes,
which a lot of people who have been discussing this issue have not been looking at.
Yeah.
Okay? And that supports the point that he made that we're going to have a constitutional crisis of some sort. But however, from my point of view, yes, it's the lawyer, the legal people, but some of us laymen too can also talk. That is the spirit of the law. What is the spirit of the law? Under what basis were those who are making this law make the law? That's point number one. Point number two, he gave an example about the man carrying his bag who now wants to contest. Okay? And that it's morally right. Morality demands that he should stop carrying the bag so he can have time to go and campaign. Okay? So I think that's what we should be looking at. And I give you a practical example. If you take Anambra State, for example, we are not having governorship elections because we've had one. Okay? So we're going to have senatorial elections, House of Rep elections, and House of Assembly elections. If you look around and see what is going on, if you take a senatorial aspirant, for instance, the average number of wards he has to cover is at least 2,000 wards. If I take Anambra Central, for example, I think it's about 2,600 and something wards. If you are holding office, there is no way you can cover 2,000 wards in 1 month. If we say we are really having an election, and we're going to, you want voters to vote for you because of what you said you will do, because of what they know about you. Ideally, each of the 2,000 and something wards, you know who, they should at least see your face. All right? And, and the congresses that we're talking about, you're going to have delegates. Why should a delegate be queuing behind you or voting for you when he hasn't heard from you? He doesn't know where you're coming from. So if the things must be done properly, like he said, the man carrying the bag needs to leave the bag and go and campaign. So I think that's the spirit. I think that's the spirit. Although people also look at other things, that the man carrying the bag may hold on to the bag so that he can also influence voters from the bag.
That's another angle we want
Yes.
to be looking at, because somebody like Emefiele being in a sensitive position, if you even ask me, I would say he's the number 4 man in the nation right
Yes.
now. I mean, controlling the economy
Yes.
of the nation. You're talking about still being the CBN governor, and then you still want to contest for the election. Now, INEC is talking about removing some of the sensitive materials from CBN.
You see, the issue of Emefiele is just where someone is just trying to play smart. Because even the CBN Act forbids him from being partisan. For you to be a governor of CBN, the law demands that you don't belong to any political party. You have to be neutral, so that whatever instruction that is coming from any angle, you can perfect it. It's just, Emefiele is just trying to inform Nigerians that he belongs to APC, which is very, very unfortunate. Because Anambra State, that is Africa State, may like to have some loans from CBN, and because it's not APC state, Emefiele will start playing some politics. So it's quite unfortunate, and I expected him to resign before now. If you want to contest, I don't know why people are really greedy. I see it as being greedy. Let's face the fact. Even in Gige, as a minister, do you know what you need to cover as a minister? Students, the future leaders of this country are on strike. You don't even have time to meet with the ASU. Polytechnic lecturers are going into strike by next week. 2 weeks, one strike. You have not had time to discuss meaningfully with them. Because why I put that word meaningfully, that government is just trying to play smart. You call ASU, and that ASU is just playing fool. They'll call them to a round table discussion. You agree on something, somebody will sign, you have a party's representatives. At the end, the government will not do it, and somebody will be somewhere justifying that attitude. It's very, very lackadaisical. And that should not be seen in a democratic dispensation. If you have an agreement with ASU, simply obey it. If you don't want, Abinu should tell them, we cannot do this. Let it be the contention, and people will say, what is the contention? The third party will come and say, okay. But where you have come to a round table discussion, at the end you agree on something, at the end you just, no, we can't continue this way now. And that's is not doing anything. The student union government is not doing NANS. I don't know if NANS is dead.
You see, this was why I said we needed to have a legal basis to this. Now, he's gone into areas that touch on emotions, okay? And which is why a lot of people believe that governance here is a circus. Like you said, if you have an agreement and you know, the two of us sign, if for any reason I'm not honor any section of that agreement, I must let him know then we need an arbitration. I cannot just stay here and say, no. That's why people look at it and say, these guys are a bunch of unserious people. And like I said, ASU, you know, okay, yes, strike is, you know, the maximum way of their expression. You know, there is nothing else they can do other than to go on strike. But however, the government itself, and these are issues that should come up in the election, because we're going, you know, a government that signs an agreement and cannot keep the agreement or cannot work the agreement, why does it want to come back? But however, let's go back to the issue of resign, you know, the need to resign, which we've looked at. Now, he talked about the CBN governor. Most of the authorities that I've looked at, I'm not a lawyer, by the way, I'm just a public affairs analyst, didn't really say specifically that the governor of Central Bank ought to resign or must resign. But you know, most of the arguments have tended to be on the moral angle.
And somebody actually asked me a question before you continue. The person said, now, it's the president that is telling these people to resign. He was the person that appointed them. So doesn't he have a right to say, I appointed you, I'm your employer, please leave office if you want to go for a higher position?
Of course, the president has a right.
No.
Yes.
The president cannot just say, if you are going for any office, you have to resign. Rather, he can sack.
Okay.
That is the difference between telling somebody to resign and sack. If the law didn't say you should resign, even if Mr. President said resign, that person will not resign.
No.
But the law has now said, as a political appointee, you should resign. That is what Mr. President is reechoing. Not that he's ordering anybody to
he doesn't have the power. You mean the president doesn't have the...
If the law has not provided it, he cannot order for that. Rather, you can look at it and say, you are going to spoil the game for us, APC. And then if we have you as a candidate, somebody will go to court and challenge it and will end up not having a candidate. He can now sack him.
Okay, let's look at two other areas of this point. I will come back to the issue, it's also legalistic, of whether the person who has the power to appoint also does not have the power to advise the appointee to resign. Okay, because that will take us into labor law and so on and so on. I believe in well-run organizations, when somebody commits, fails in his duties one way or the other, management has a right to advise the person
It's advisory.
to
That's why I say
resign.
you didn't have the right to order.
And
Okay.
where you
It's
fail,
advisory.
where you fail to resign, they can now, use a hammer on you.
Okay.
But however, having said that, I think that, which is why I insisted on these legal issues being defined. I think that to a very great extent, we are not being serious. We are not showing ourselves as serious. Now, if the president has legal advisors, if we say we are following the Electoral Act and the Constitution, it says 30 days before election. All the primaries must end on the 30th of May, according to INEC
Timetable.
INEC timetable. So if you are telling, you told somebody last week, actually it wasn't last week, it was this week, resign. Hey, come on. What are we teaching? What are we passing to the public? This week, today is the 12th or 13th?
And it's giving them up to 16.
Up to 16th, Monday. So
I thought it's ending today.
No,
because from the
Monday.
paper.
Monday.
Okay.
Lai Mohammed came up there for to clarify that.
Yes,
Okay.
Monday is giving them up
That's
to
in
Monday.
So
that Monday.
you are saying that it actually came late.
Indeed, it makes mockery
call.
of the whole thing.
Okay.
It makes mockery of the whole thing.
That's why I said that order is ineffective. Because people will not even look at the order. We lawyers will look at what the law say.
Okay.
The law say you should resign. And when you look at section 66 I quoted, it said 30 days to the election. You can see that we have even up to how many months next year for this. That is the contradiction. Because if you ask a political appointee to resign now, you have months to the election. And the civil servant will wait until it is 30 days before civil servant will resign. That is inequality. That is not equitable. And that is the contradiction. But if this electoral act equally say, resign 30 days to, and that's why Malami and others, they insisted that it is not yet time for them to resign.
To resign.
They can partake in
Primaries.
till 30 days to the election, which is even by next year, say, or December or November.
That's around January.
So they say they have from now till even November, December.
So at this point, can the political party do anything? Because I remember a paper saying that they are going to disqualify them if they don't present their resignation letters.
The only thing they have to do, not even if it's even late, if any of them resign by now.
Yeah.
Nwajuba that has resigned,
Onu, Akpabio.
it is already late.
They don't meet the 30 days.
The only thing that will avail them that is that APC have not conducted congresses. But in Africa, for instance, they have conducted
World
congresses to elect their delegates,
Yeah.
which some of the political appointees participated. So in that aspect now, they have violated that section 84 sub 12. And we lawyers will be waiting for them. Some political parties will end up not having a candidate. When we were shouting for APC, that Congress did not hold, I was in a radio program. One of APC members came there and was just saying that I was talking. I said APC, as far as I'm concerned, did not conduct primaries. INEC came out to say that. They were saying, no, it doesn't matter. Supreme Court affirmed it and said, in Anambra gubernatorial election, APC has no candidate. So when you are there busy messing up the system, we will just relax because lawyers will definitely have their money. So at the end, you engage.
So what we are saying in effect is that there is no road to 2023.
Is it?
What we're saying in effect is that there is no road to 2023.
How is that?
No.
Yes, if everything is already flawed.
Okay. No, there are some of the contestants. What do you see? Let me just correct this.
Yeah.
What the political party will have to do now.
Yes.
is to make sure that any political appointee that has gotten a nomination form is disqualified if you don't want to play any risk.
Okay.
Remember what happened in Bayelsa State? The deputy governor had an issue. That issue was treated by the court. That deputy governor was a senator. And because the issue came up outside the stipulated period, he was able to maneuver. And when he was filled in as deputy governorship candidate, people said, no, don't put this man. They say he has no problem. At the end, what happened? A day, the governor was doing rehearsal in the field on how he will do like this. And what happened? The information came, Oga, you will not be sworn in tomorrow. That is it. So I think judiciary will have to be very serious this time around so that this play will stop. Look at it again. The political parties are expected to submit membership register. Up to this moment, INEC is shouting. It is only one political party that has obeyed this. Nobody wants to listen. Political parties are busy doing their business. They believe everything is money. But somebody will come up from somewhere and fault whatever they have done. So anybody that is a political appointee that has purchased this form, please disqualify. There is an advice.
Advice, okay.
Please disqualify such individual. The likes of P2Bs, articles, all these people that don't have any appointment should be allowed to go there so that you don't play any risk at the end of the game.
Okay, we'll still continue with our discussion right here in the studio, but let's get to hear what the people on the street have to say about the 2023 election, campaigning and contesting while in service. How legal?
Yes, very perfectly in order. Elected and unelected public officers who desire to run can run. They are citizens of Nigeria with the right to vote and be voted for. They can. But then it has to be, the procedures has to be in accordance with the Constitution and the Electoral Act. So if the Constitution says they will have to resign their, if it's an appointed position, not elected. You don't expect the government to resign before continuing for second term, nor a senator to do so, or has, But when it comes to appointed position, they have to resign in accordance within 30 days of their election. Not primary, not all this. But the Electoral Act has gone a step further, and there are still controversy about it. Whether it's a breach of the constitutional provision, whether the Electoral Act has run foul of the constitutional provision, or whether it's complementary. And it's before the court, and it's being ventilated in the courts right now.
My humble opinion is that it will lead to partisan. It's partisan for somebody holding a public office to be buying tickets, even if it's APC, PDP, of any party. It will lead to partisan because you cannot be holding a public office and be contesting on another public office. How do you want people to vote, to decide who to vote for? A lot of illegalities will come to it. We've seen all those things. It doesn't help our democracy. It is very wrong for the society. Any right-thinking Nigerian, any right-thinking human being will condemn the act.
People have their reasons why they should go out and contest for election. But I think, for me, my personal opinion, if you want to contest for an election, then you should resign whatever position you are holding, because I think the present government, when they see that you are about to, vie for a position, they see you as an enemy, in quotes. So I think for anybody who wants to contest and you're still holding a position, you need to resign. That's the legal thing to do. That's the right thing to do.
Looking at the way it is going, and everybody is just buying the form like as if it's they have reduced the the value of the naira to nothing. Buying 100 million naira form as if you are buying 100 naira recharge card to start with. So many extended it again, and they don't care. All these ministers, They don't care. You see that they don't care about the masses. They just know about themselves, just their interest and all those ones. So I don't know about the legal implication, but the thing is very awful.
Anybody that is part of this system called Nigeria today, we know that the country is as good as a failed state. Yes, we have to use that word. Let us not stop deceiving ourselves. You know, things are no more the same. Fine. It's worrisome when you see someone you are holding a public office, at the same time you're jumping into, you know, a political campaign to campaign for another office. What is happening to those hours that you left your office? And Nigerian government and Nigerian taxpayers are paying you. You know, it's a very bad one. So we really have to look into it. Our leaders have really, in fact, I don't know, they have scored 0. Yes, as far as this country is concerned, they have taken us back to Stone Age, which is bad. And history will not forgive them for what they are doing.
You're welcome back to the studio. It means that some of the people out there actually understand what we are talking about. They actually understood this thing. Then starting from the engineer Okonkwo that just spoke, yeah, and then down to the woman that is talking about our leaders taking us back to those old days, dark days, that we need to actually do something in this country. We are talking about 2023 elections, and then if we start with this kind of problems now, what are we going to expect on the election day that's come next year?
No, you see, after election, people will definitely go to court. So these are some of the reasons that are just building up reasons why people will go to court.
Lawyers like you are documenting all those things, just like you said earlier.
Lawyers must chop, of course. So if they think that they are above the law and they are getting all this money, packing it, then lawyers will help them to spend it. We are not afraid of, we always advise them, follow this way. But most politicians are very adamant, they are very stubborn, because they believe that money answers all things. So once they have that money, by the time you are telling them this thing you are doing is against the law, they will say, forget it. I will even meet the judge. I will meet the tribunal members. No problem. Lawyers will wait. Thank God it doesn't stop at the tribunal. You go to appeal, and some of the positions will definitely get to Supreme Court. So while we are still preparing for 2023 election, the political parties should look at what the new Electoral Act is saying. There are a lot of renovations as far as our electoral system is concerned. And if you think we are still operating the 2010 Electoral Act, no. The legal advisors of all the political parties should sit down and read from the beginning of Electoral Act to the end, because a lot of litigations are coming up as far as 2023 election is concerned.
Okay, now back to you, Obi. It's true that we have some disparities and controversies concerning what we have in Constitution and the Electoral Act, and then concerning the 30 days each and all that. But then again, seeing that people like Onu, Nwajuba, Akpabio, they have already resigned. Now, why do you think these other people, they are still holding so tight to their present position?
I will come to that. There was a point I raised earlier, which I want to revisit, and that is, it does not look to me like we are going to have elections in 2023. But if we go ahead and have elections, it could just be a waste of money and a nullity. If you take the example he gave of APC, in Anambra State gubernatorial elections last November. Like you said, most people knew APC didn't have Congress. They didn't have primary. But figures were manufactured. At the end of the day, the person who came out as a candidate had more votes than all the people who participated in the main election put together. Okay, in the APC primary. And people were jubilating. At the end of the day, come November, all the political parties didn't score that. That is all the votes. You put all the votes together. From Abgar that won to the last party, it didn't come to what the APC candidate used in winning the primary. Fine. You can say that that was very glaring. But the same way, some of us kept warning, because I have friends in all the parties. You guys are just wasting money. Okay? Now, he mentioned a couple of things. One, party register. And he said, and I agree with him, that most of the parties, if there is any at all, do not have proper registers. So if the Electoral Act says you must have a party register, and up till now, most of the parties don't have it, don't you see that we have a problem? Okay? Then there's also another point. Yes, he said he would advise, excuse me, that he will advise the parties, assuming he was consulted, will advise parties to drop those aspirants who have already breached the Electoral Act. Now, I also believe that the Electoral Act says that the whole election, that is that particular election, is a nullity by the simple fact that somebody that was not supposed to participate in the election participated in the election.
Yeah, that's 12,
Yeah.
13.
Yes.
In section 8(4)(13),
Yes.
say that that person that has violated, that has refused to resign and obey that sub 12, 13 now is saying that such person should not even be included by INEC
Yeah.
in the election.
Yeah.
So you see the implication.
And because I still wanted to ask
Yes.
the role
That
INEC have
is
to play.
sub 13
Okay.
Yes.
of section 8(4) electoral act say that such individual should not even be included.
But where he participates.
And that will tell you that
Yeah.
you're in disobedience to that.
Yeah.
If you include yourself, or INEC by mistake include
How
your
can
name.
they do that kind of mistake?
No, INEC, don't you know that INEC said that there was no primaries of APC in Anambra Guba?
Yes.
What happened? When they pasted names, APC and Yoruba came up. The same INEC that said these people did not do what? Conduct.
Because there were court orders.
INEC is there to say, look, if you insist, I will put. Then at the end, you go to court, and court will look at all the things. That first report after primaries, INEC said, up till 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening,
We didn't see anybody.
we didn't see anybody. Our staff came back to our office, and people did not take it serious. That statement was a very serious one that voided the primaries and the candidacy of Anduba. But Anduba partook in the election. He spent
A lot of money.
and even went to tribunal.
And now-
among all the contestants, he went to tribunal.
And now again, they are saying that they are not going to accept primaries that are conducted after June 3.
Yes.
So are you saying that peradventure, if any political party at the end of the day conducts primaries after June 3
Waste
and
of
taking
time.
those
That one is waste of. Let's see. I don't even see reason why political parties are they are not serious. I don't want to say they are stupid or whatever. No, I want to say they are not serious. INEC has come out to say you have up to June 3rd or 4th to conduct your. What is preventing the parties from conducting their primaries from May 1 or even April? The moment that timetable is out, what's preventing you from doing everything you need to do? Most of the political parties now have shifted their primaries to 28, 26, 29. Then what of that day, if that day, no election? How will you now have time to reschedule that election? Some even put their own June 1, very close to that June 3rd. Why? This week and last week, what happened to it? Why can't we have all these things? So that if you have any appeal, if you have any reason to do runoff or whatever, you can do that. So they are putting themselves in danger. And who will advise them and wait for them? At the end, if you conduct your own, maybe June 5th, June 6th, no problem. INEC will code your name. You waste your money. Lawyers will go there and present their facts. And somebody will go home. That's the point. So that is why I rightly pointed out legal advisors of all the political parties. What are they doing? Some of them don't even know their work. They don't even have time to read their rules, guidelines. Let me tell you, even PDP now, that has thrown its ticket open. Go to PDP constitution and watch section 7. It talks about maintaining equity and fairness, that zoning should be adopted. Somebody is waiting for them. That is the point. Because you cannot, every political party is guided by its own constitution. Likewise, all the communities in Anambra is guided by town union or chieftaincy constitution. So you can't do anything outside that. And you can't just every time you refer to constitution, you have other laws that will help the constitution.
Yes.
And that is why you have PDP constitution that talks about fairness, equity, and that is the rotation.
Okay. We don't really have time. Maybe you want to add anything to what he said, but just round up with that.
No,
because
I'm just saying that I'm afraid.
you are still maintaining that stance.
Yes, I'm afraid.
We might not have election 2023.
And if we do, it will just be a waste of time and money. I fear that, because all the parties have breached the law and are continuously breaching it.
But don't you think that we can actually salvage the situation right now?
It can be salvaged, because at the same time, most of the parties have appealed to INEC to extend. Yes. If INEC finds a window to do the extension, then maybe we might remedy the situation. But if INEC sticks to its June 3, I think it's just, it will be, as most people suspect, a circus. Just some entertainment.
Okay. Well, on that note, we want to say a very big thank you to you for joining us this morning. Obi, thank you so much. Obi Meze,
thank you for
Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And also to you, Barrister Joseph Anyanti. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, that's it on the show this morning. My name is Chidimma Oranwa. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.
My name is Abubakar Umar, and I have a secret. Now I'm regretting what I did before.